I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery, and today I wanted to talk about habit triggers or alcohol triggers. So triggers are like little switches in your mind that trigger a thought, which leads to an impulse, which further leads to an action, and that action can be either another thought, as in a train of thoughts, or a physical action. Triggers are neither good nor are they bad. They're just part of the whole system. They're the links, that the chains or the pieces that link one action or one thing to another to form your overall behaviour pattern. You know, these are the bonds that make your life tick over from one action to another. A famous example of a trigger is Pavlov's dog, when some experiments that were done by the Russian Pavlov, when he trained his dog to salivate every time it heard the bell ring. You know, we're surrounded by triggers all day, every day. You know, when you wake up in the morning, your bladder sends a signal to your brain that it's time to go to the loo, and that triggers your action to get up and take a walk in to the bathroom and go through that whole routine. When you walk past a bakery and you smell fresh bread, it triggers your salivatory glands just like the Pavlov dog, and you feel like a bit of bread. Everything, you know, one cause and effect, you know, one thing triggers another, and normally these triggers happen in succession. So you have a trigger, normally these triggers happen in a sequence, so that you have one thing triggers another, and that's basically how your drinking happens. You know, you have to sort of sit down and think about it, what is actually triggering your drinking, and take steps backwards, so do a sort of reverse. Triggers are working all the time. While you're in the car driving to work in the morning and you're thinking about what was on TV last night, or what you're going to say to the boss this morning, or what you're going to do about the dog pissing on the carpet. You know, there's all these automatic triggers that are firing off to keep the car in between the white lines. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be able to do that. You would have to focus your 100% on driving the car. In fact, I think if it wasn't for triggers, it would be impossible to drive the car. You know, underneath just that one thing of driving your car forward, you have all these sort of mini goals that are happening all the time. So you want to try and go a certain speed, but not go too fast so that you're breaking the law, but not too slow that you're never going to get anywhere. So all the time you're making small little adjustments in the accelerator or the brake, and you know, the thing probably that's triggering the adjustments is the speedometer, or you know, you're all the time, like I say, trying to keep the car between the white lines, and the thing that is triggering sort of a left jink of the steering wheel is when you're too far over to the right, and you know, a right jink of the steering wheel when you're too far over to the left. I mean, that's what happens all the time, all the way through the day. Everything that we do involves these triggers. Something triggers an action, which triggers another action, which sparks off another trigger, another action, so on and so forth. And the reason I'm talking about these triggers is because these are the very things that once you understand what is triggering your action, that you can use the triggers to break the habit. You can use triggers to build another habit. And you know, it's a fairly simple process. It's very mechanical. You know, there's nothing super intelligent about it. It's just getting to know how they work and using them in your own favour. So I will talk a lot more about that in future videos. I think it's a fascinating subject, and once you get to grips with what is triggering your actions, then you can virtually change any any behavior that you don't want, and you can build any behavior that you do want, you know. So if you have any questions at all, give us a shout. If you have any stories, give us a shout. Go over and sign up to the newsletter over on the website, and until next time, have a great day. My name's Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards.